quite possible to build a house with zero inputs from a heating and cooling perspective.
Do we heat map the house we're looking at? And of that heat map, how many rooms never get any heat at all because they're not used at all? You have a really energy efficient house and you've got one person living in it.
Oh.
And it could be, as you say, cost neutral. But the truth is, well, what about all the extraction and the forestry?
That's exactly right. Why aren't all modern homes completely energy independent? It's a question I ask myself all the time. But in this video, we sit down with Nick McGowan, such a legend, and discuss the why, the what, and the how of energy independence. Now, before we get stuck into it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and of course to Greenwood Academy. And if you've got a chance, check out the full podcast with Nick. Let's get stuck into it. Look, we're in the enviable position from a renewable energy perspective as being, we can be world leaders, and we are. And there's a lot of scrutiny in Australia what goes on, like in regards to our electrical infrastructure and energy storage now with the renewables. What's your view on the whole energy storage, the grid, fossil fuels, coal, the gas, the whole bit?
I think it's all upside. I'm excited by all of it. Like I just think if people see it sensibly, I look for the common ground in everyone, right? What do people want? I think everyone wants clean air, clean soil, clean water. Like that's the commonality.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the rest is the bullshit.
Correct.
So how do we get to have these things that are clean, therefore healthy, and that help create healthy lives? That's the commonality. So when I say it's exciting, there's huge space here in scope for entrepreneurialism, for enterprise, for new technologies to thrive in every regard. Like I'm excited by some of the things I see that if we can change any existing technology that we're using and make it cleaner and better for us and the planet, where's the downside? Now, some of it will be staged. Some of it will take longer to get there than others.
Yes.
And that's because we're preserving maybe way of life, we're preserving our quality of life, or maybe it's just a question of ingenuity and how quickly we can get there. You know, and you and I have seen this throughout our life with all different examples of exactly what we're talking about now. And then you've got to get scale, because scale is important to make something. It's got to be, we can't produce something that no one can afford because how does that work? It takes. But then there are other occasions where we do need to lead from the front. So I think everything like, the concept that we can make, say, everyone's house energy independent, who wouldn't agree with that? Like, how cool is that? Isn't that where we should be headed?
The people selling, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And it's not as if passive solar design is a new concept. It's been around for thousands and thousands of years. And it is quite possible to build a house with zero inputs from a heating and cooling perspective with the correct combinations of thermal mass and insulation and all of those things. This has been done time and time again. The issue is that the market, when we're talking about housing, let's say, for example, that the market is driven by people's expectations of the house they buy not just being a place to live, but an investment, which was never really like that, say, 30, maybe 40 years ago. And that's why house prices have one of the reasons why they've grown tremendously. So people go, I wouldn't mind an energy efficient smaller house, but if I build that, I probably won't get maximum return in 5 years when I sell it. So let's buy the Neo-Georgian, no eaves, with the HVAC on top, throw on maybe some solar hot water to get a 8-star rating, which is bullshit, and then, hey, we won't lose money.
Yeah.
So it's about changing people's perceptions en masse. So they go, hey, we perceive these better built quality houses, which will reduce our outgoing expenses, as more desirable, and everyone thinks the same. So, hey, then you can still satisfy the investment perspective.
Totally. And then as we've touched on already, what are we building? Are we thinking about it? Do we heat map the house we're looking at? And of that heat map, how many rooms never get any heat at all because they're not used at all? So that has an environmental consequence.
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah, and if we want to go, we want to then talk about the mining consequences and the forestry consequences to this structure that we've now built that is not being used. I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? We want to, we don't want to be telling people what they're doing with their lives every step of the way, but we do want to be smart. And that's where we can agree. How do we get smart, and how do we actually either incentivize it, or, I mean, I don't think you have to convince anyone that having a house that's self-sustaining is a good idea. It's just a no-brainer. And people are gradually headed that way. So I think it's exciting. Then I'll get some, gravity batteries. I love the idea of some of these gravity batteries, whether it's, and some of them may never fly, right? But this is the exciting space we're now in terms of, could you have a sand-based gravity battery? Could you have a wheat-based? Could you have any other materials? Like, what could you use? How could we get cleaner and greener? And how could we rely less on the mining, the extractions industries?
It's a really good point. I'm a great fan of flywheels. I don't know if you know much about them, but they've been around for a very long time, probably nearly 100 years, used in various ways. And now they with rare earth magnets and maglev technology, they're very efficient, but they still don't stack up on a cost per kilowatt hour basis to, say, lithium iron phosphate. But they're made of steel. You can make it recyclable. There's nothing you don't have to mine. They last for 30 years, bugger all maintenance, the whole bit. But until the market will dictate, and unfortunately that's how it is. The market dictates, especially in renewables, what things are adopted. I will say one thing. When I studied all this many years ago, there was a great.
But the market doesn't always get it right either, does it?
Totally.
As you and I know.
And people have to remember the market is not some amorphous celestial being. It's right. People and their psychological drivers. And you're right, the market doesn't get it right a lot of the times. But when I first started all this stuff, there was a great discussion about consuming less. And that argument and that discussion hardly occurs at all, because you make bugger all money out of people using less of anything. And that's a really hard one for me personally. I've sort of taken my Greenwood hat off a little bit here, but it's true.
But like the food consumption, we're talking about the same thing now, right?
Yeah.
It's what we surround ourselves in, what we put ourselves in, what we put it into ourselves. It's all those things. We've created a society that sells, and so that keeps the economy going. And so that's where we're on a treadmill. And if we stop, then what happens? Do we fall flat?
We don't. Well, that's the thing. We ooh.
I don't think we do. That is the answer. Of course we don't fall.
No, of course we don't.
And we adjust.
We adjust, and we're agile, and human beings are quite resilient. And so I just think we have to be more aware of what goes on. We have to be really aware that there's this interconnection between all things, like that concept of ecology, interdependence between all living things. You go one step, it's the interconnection between all things. Some connections are more powerful and directly related than others, but just to remember that hey, just because you got a more energy efficient house or whatever, or you put solar on and you negate that by going out and buy a bigger air conditioner, you see what I mean?
Totally. I mean, you have a really energy efficient house and you've got one person living in it.
Oh.
And it could be, as you say, cost neutral. But the truth is, well, what about all the extraction and the forestry?
That's exactly right.
Everything has a consequence.
It does. And families are getting smaller too, by the way. So
yeah, not my fault. I'm doing my work.
you are. Yeah, you definitely are.
It must be something in the water.